Oh, hey, I didn't know you were there. Well, welcome back for another episode of Mr. Fix-It the Realtor. I'm Zach Lipson with the Jason Martin Group, and on this episode, I am going to show you how to do a drywall tape joint. Stay tuned as I will show you some other tips and tricks to help you along the way. Enjoy! So here we have a new piece of sheetrock that I've screwed in next to the existing sheetrock that was here before. We had to cut out some of the drywall, so we're just replacing that now. We have two spots where we're going to need to put a tape joint, both here and along the corner here. So I'm going to show you how to install a tape joint properly so that we don't run into bubbling tape joints and everything is smooth and even. First thing I want to show you is actually how the sheetrock is installed. So this is a piece of the new sheetrock that I installed right here. You can sort of see a little bit of a line there. It's not, I don't know if that's just something that got rubbed on, but this is the beveled edge. All right, so it's tapered off. I have this on that part there up on the top so that when I put the tape joint going over part of this here, I will have some room to put mud on top so that the wall won't be padded out more than it needs to be. Now, because I already have the existing wall there will be some bumping out on the top piece, but I will blend it as much as I can and even have to bring the mud down a little bit further, doing some skim coating, which I'll show you a little bit later on. So for the tape joint, we're actually going to use this piece of tape here. Just feels like paper. It's like a few bucks for this at Home Depot or hardware store. You look at this, got a little fold in there. So we'll make sure that the way the fold goes faces in like this, or if we're doing a corner bead, we're doing a corner piece, so it faces in like that. So before I even go ahead and put the tape on, I'm going to take some mud or drywall compound. In this particular instance, I have some dust control. You can either buy a pre-made batch or you can buy a bag, so you can mix it as you'd like. The stuff in these containers does not last forever. It actually can get mold in there even if it's closed because there is moisture. So if you don't think you're going to use all of it at once, you may want to buy a smaller thing of sheetrock or buy a mix, which you'll have to do as you go. The benefit of using this is that I don't have to spend time mixing compound. So I've got what these are called tape knives or putty knives. I've got a couple of them. This is for skim coating, and these are for doing finer details. They come in all different sizes and shapes. But to begin with, I will use these to fill in over here. My personal preference is this one. So I'm simply just applying this to work almost, one, to fill in the gap, two, to kind of work like a glue, so that the tape can adhere to the wall. It doesn't have to be beautiful. So now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to take my tape, make sure I have it facing like this. I'm going to roughly eyeball what the length is. And I'm actually going to just take one of my tape knives like this. You don't need to use a scissor. And pull it right off, keeping track of where the joint is. I can see the line here. So I'm going to go ahead and I want to get any air bubbles out, but I'm going to just first, to begin with, just try to gently get it to adhere to the wall. In the process of doing this, when I skim over it, some of the mud's going to come out from the sides. So you'll see a little bit of bubbling, which when this dries, you don't want bubbles. So the point is, try to get as many of the bubbles out now while you can. Because if you get bubbles, you got to cut out the tape joint. If I want to just give it a more even distribution, you see here, so they give us a smoother coating. I'm trying to take a shortcut. I can do a little bit over on top of this, but again, I'm going to skim most of this off. I'm just kind of doing this as a extra show to make sure it's all on there nice. And it's important to know, if you pull too hard on this, the tape will pull out. For now, I gotta let this dry for probably about 24 hours. Some mud dries faster. You can buy what's called Easy 20, Easy 10, Easy 5. The number is representative of how quickly it dries. They dry in about that amount of time. So I've used 5 before, and it dries. By the time you finish mixing it up, it starts to harden. So if you want less drying time, you can do that. Take our corner here, give a rough measure of how much I need. Again, folding it so that it's folding in this way. Okay? I know first I gotta put mud in the corner. And I don't have to fill in every gap either, as long as there's just enough for the paper to adhere to. Of course, the paper is not structural, it's really aesthetic. I'm going to take my smaller putty knife, just want to make sure I edge that in there, right? Because this is going to act as your inside edge. I want to make sure that everything looks right and that you don't get a bad looking edge. So it's been about 24 hours since I started the tape joint here and did all this. As you can see, it actually pulled in the tape joint a little bit, which is normal. And just a little tip, sometimes if you've got a really big gap between your existing drywall and a new piece of drywall, you may actually have to spackle that separately before putting your tape joint down to let that dry sufficiently so you prevent getting air bubbles and things like that. So now I'm actually going to go ahead and do a skim coat. Any, rough edges and things like that, I will end up sanding later. So you can always fix this as you go along. So I'm going to take my skim coating knife here, and I'm just going to take a big old chunk of mud. Again, nothing's final once it goes on. We're just going to do this. I'm going to go across. I'm going to do it a few times. And you may notice I cheated a little bit and I got air bubbles. So I will cut those out. My air bubbles actually went not where the tape was covering the joint, but rather the actual top layer there. So that's pretty much all it takes to do the tape joint. At this point, I'm going to let it dry, then I'll sand it down as necessary, and then we should be ready to go ahead and paint this. Thanks for watching this episode of Mr. Fix with the Realtor on how to do a tape joint. If you have anything you'd like to see me do, please let me know. I'm always looking for new things to show you guys how to do. Until next time, be sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel, and have a good one. Bye.